So first we are going to have Charlotte performing original oratory. And original oratory is all about taking a topic and being persuasive with it. So, Charlotte.
This summer, I was driving my parents and siblings to our annual family reunion in Iowa. It was very early, like 10 a.m. Early. I should have still been in bed, and family reunions are never a good idea. Well, I was driving along, minding my own business, when I approached a tractor. This tractor was taking up part of my lane, and there was traffic in the other lane coming towards me, so I slowed down. But the guy behind me didn't really get the memo and hit us at 60 miles an hour. After the accident, even though the other guy had taken full responsibility for the crash, everyone was miraculously okay and the tractor was virtually untouched, I couldn't help but blame myself for what had happened. My brain kept going over this and that I could have done better, like honking or slowing down sooner. A lot of my self-criticism came with my ongoing issue with perfectionism. And I am not alone when it comes to this mindset. A study that was conducted by the American Psychological Association from 1989 to 2016 found that perfectionism in young people has surged dramatically and shows no signs of slowing down. All of us are flawed. All of us make mistakes. But yet our society has been drifting more and more towards a more perfectionistic identity. And many of us have forgotten that failure is an option. So today, let's first check our blind spots for the problems of perfectionism, then yield to the causes of this epidemic, until finally ensure a means of avoiding the crash. Perfectionism is a term that is thrown around a lot. Brene Brown, a researcher at the University of Houston and author of The Gifts of Imperfection, described it like this. Perfectionism is not the same thing as striving to be your best. Perfectionism is the belief that if we live perfect, look perfect, and act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. It's a shield. The problems of perfectionism fall into two categories, the personal view and the social view. Let's begin by giving caution to our personal blind spots. Perfectionists often look at themselves and believe that they can achieve incredible goals, if they try hard enough. And while goals can be very good things, in the cases of excessive goals, they're more likely to hurt us than help us. The aforementioned study found that those who set very high personal standards either got a very small benefit or no benefit at all when compared to those who didn't have those standards. And those who had maladaptive tendencies had a significantly large burnout. Perfectionism often decreases our desire to take risks. Human civilization was built much more on risk-taking and failure than it was on successes. We take a risk when we ask someone out, start a business, ask for a raise, even just get in our car. In order to achieve personal growth, we have to look outside of our comfort zones, and perfectionism is stunting that growth. According to Damon Zaharides, author of the 2018 book, The Joy of Imperfection, risk is a prerequisite for fully enjoying life's rich abundance. Next, let's look more closely at the social blind spots of perfectionism. Picture the typical interview scene. The interviewer asks the job seeker what their greatest weakness is. They then respond with, "I'm a perfectionist." And then they get the job because perfectionism is something that a manager wants in a hire, right? Wrong. Many employers are actually encouraged to drive employees away from perfectionistic tendencies. Perfectionism often goes hand in hand with increased stress and anxiety. We as a society have been seeing perfectionism as a positive rather than a negative, and we often expect a perfect outcome. Courts reported in 2018 that young people are more demanding of themselves and more expectant of producing the perfect result. So if perfectionism is such a destructive habit, why do so many of us continuously fail to yield to it? The issue is both internal and external. First, our internal issues. Many of us have a chronic fear of failure, and that absolutely kills us when it comes to getting things done. When I was little, I always wanted to be good at drawing. But anytime that I tried to do anything artistic, it always turned out horribly. I was 8, of course it was going to, but that fear and defeat of failure just made me eventually quit. I haven't taken a single art class in high school, and I dressed up as an artist for career day in 2nd grade. In 2015, Lincoln asked over 1,000 people what they were afraid of, and 1/3 said failure, which was more than said spiders, and spiders are terrifying. And half said that failure was a major setback for them. Matt Pelletier, in his 2019 book, Embracing Failure, says, "Successful people understand that they can't grow and learn without fear." Social media is also a prevailing cause of this epidemic. Everyone wants to show their perfect self on social media, and when we see other people being perfect, it makes us believe that we should also be. Force ourselves to be perfect, or at least the closest version of it that we can be. And when we fall short, we think that there's something wrong with us. According to a 2017 article by the Huffington Post, 60% of people who use social media said it hurt their self-esteem. Externally, we as a society have a morphed view of perfectionism. We hear perfect and we think excellent, respectable. We hear imperfect and we think fallible, adequate. We feel like perfect is correct and people will like us if we're perfect. When we talk about famous inventors, scientists, and artists, we talk about their successes, not their failures. This lack of discussing failures has been shown to even affect students' grades. In 2016, Zayed Alin-Seigler, a researcher at Columbia University's Teachers College, found that science grades improved after students learned about the struggles of the scientists, while students who only learned about their successes saw a decline in grades. Perfectionism is something that is drilled in young. We are raised to strive for it. We are supposed to color within the lines, overachieve at jobs, go to college, and maintain a 4.0. This contributes to the mentality that we need to be perfect, and if we're not, we're wrong. As before stated, perfectionism has surged in recent years in young people, and it's not too hard to realize why. According to the Washington Post, most kids will take over 110 standardized tests before they graduate. The issue of comparing ourselves starts young, and it just brews perfectionists. Psychologist Thomas Curran in his 2019 TED Talk said that socially prescribed perfectionism where we feel a need to be perfect based on social pressures, has been the most prevalent in recent years. Falling victim to perfectionism is something that is very easy to do, and it can often feel impossible to get over, but solutions are possible. First, set goals for yourself, but do it responsibly. Don't create huge goals that you have no way of accomplishing, and don't expect yourself to do it perfectly. Rather than having a goal of writing a novel, you could have a goal of writing 30 minutes every day. There's much less stress associated with the latter, and that can often make you more likely to achieve your finished result. Second, we as a society need to stop pushing perfectionism as something that is a positive. We can begin by encouraging ourselves and each other for the things that we do accomplish, not just the things that we do perfectly. When you do fail at something, look on the bright side. Look for what you did right and congratulate yourself for it. And then use the mistakes you made to learn from the experience. If you talk to any capitals in Silicon Valley, you'll hear that you have to fail and bounce back lots of times before your pitch even gets to being considered. Lastly, we have to let ourselves make mistakes. By going into things with the mindset that it's okay to make mistakes, and even purposely making some can help. Baker's researchers found that when you make a mistake while learning, it helps improve your memory for the correct answer. We have to acknowledge that we are all human and we sometimes fall short. It's time to embrace our mistakes rather than running away from them. So today, we adjusted our not so perfect perfectionism by looking at the problems, harms, and solutions of believing that failure is not an option. And whether you're the person who just got a failing grade on your last test, or the person with the imperfect driving record, it's progress that matters, not perfection.
Okay. Isaiah's still not here, so we're going to move on to Nena, who's going to be doing informative.
Recently, when I was in math class, our teacher dropped a real bomb on us. We had to take a pop quiz. We all groaned and got our stuff together when all of a sudden, our classmate, who is notorious for his bloody noses, started to have a real gusher. Everybody went crazy. Many of my classmates began to gag. Someone even fainted. As the teacher began taking control of the situation, she triaged and sent the fainter and the bloody nose kid to the nurse and got the rest of us back on task. To be honest, I don't think anyone did well on that quiz. Blood is the fundamental fluid of life that keeps our body going. And whether you are fascinated or squeamish, blood is more than the watered down ketchup we have all seen in horror movies and crime stories. In fact, with every beat of your heart, blood is pumped to every single one of your organs, bringing them oxygen and nutrients and keeping them functioning and thriving. Over 24 hours, your heart pumps your blood over and over so many times, it is equivalent to 2,000 gallons a day, or enough to fill a whole swimming pool. What you may not know is that a single drop of blood has a mind-boggling amount of information about your health. According to American Hematology 2017 video, Blood Detectives, blood is the window to the body. It is the window to many systematic diseases, and every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. It is essential for surgeries, chronic illnesses, and traumatic injuries. So today, we will first be injected with the history and mystery of blood, then draw upon some blood basics until finally circulate some fresh new research in the field of hematology. So let's get bloody well to it. So why has blood always had a mysterious component to it? After all, it is common among all living creatures. But blood is anything but common or ordinary. Like a warning sign, its bright red color spilled out to early civilizations that blood was something to be both weird or weird. According to HP News Quest, the Book of Blood, almost every ancient culture had some sort of blood sacrifice as a ritual for its gods. The Hebrews used the blood of lambs to protect them from an avenging angel, and the ancient Romans spilled the blood of cattle to purify the towns and drive away evil spirits. Yet before the 20th century, people had many misconceptions about blood, even in the field of medicine. One technique, called bloodletting, was commonly practiced by surgeons. It involved draining out what was thought to be bad blood out of a patient to cure an illness. Even George Washington's doctor used bloodletting in an attempt to relieve our first president's cold symptoms. PBS.org reports that draining out this bad blood proved to be unsuccessful as he died December 14, 1799. It wasn't until the 1800s that doctors began to realize blood loss was a very bad thing for humans. Two of the early pioneers in the study of blood were British Dr. James Blundell and Austrian scientist Karl Landsteiner. Blundell was the first to realize injecting donor blood into a patient sometimes helped, but not always. Years of testing later, Karl Landsteiner discovered not all human blood looked the same. Landsteiner revolutionized medicine in 1901 when 3 major blood types, A, B, and O, were discovered, which led to giving safe blood transfusions, and millions of lives were saved, especially at the onset of World War I in 1914. Now that we've uncovered some of the mysteries of blood, let's get to the basics. Through the wonders of our circulatory system, blood is pumped throughout the body, much like a highway. Blood travels in a circular manner through a network of 100,000 miles of veins, capillaries, and arteries, carrying everything your body needs, as well as everything your body wants to get rid of. Like a complex system of roads in a large city, traffic never stops, and it always flows in the same direction, eventually getting everything to its proper destination. So, what exactly is blood made out of if it isn't ketchup and water? To learn more about what blood is composed of, let's take a look at this blood model in a bottle. First, plasma, the clear portion. Then floating around in this sticky river of liquid are 3 different kinds of cells: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Let's learn even more about each component in a single drop of blood. Plasma. Think of it as the transporter. This pale gold liquid is made up mostly of water, but it also contains sugar, fat, proteins, and salts. It is the part of our blood that moves and transports blood cells and their nutrients through blood vessels. Red blood cells, or erythrocytes. They make up about 40% of our blood. Think of them like heavy traffic or many vehicles on a busy highway. Red blood cells carry hemoglobin, a chemical that sticks to and picks up oxygen. It causes our blood to be a scarlet color and rich in iron. Red blood cells take oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body and returns carbon dioxide to the lungs to be exhaled. White blood cells, or leukocytes. They are larger in size but much smaller in number compared to the red blood cells. They account for only 1% of our blood, but their impact is big. They protect the body from infections like viruses, bacteria, and foreign invaders. Think of them like the first responders coming to aid when things go wrong on the busy highway. Also coming to aid are the platelets, or thrombocytes. Platelets help with the blood clotting process or coagulation. Platelets gather the site of an injury and stick to the lining of their injured blood vessel to stop bleeding and to help to heal the wound. When you are sick and go to the doctor, a CBC or complete blood count may be ordered. It is an easy, non-invasive way of letting your doctor know what is going on inside you, much like a roadmap. The Mayo Clinic website, dated December 2019, recognizes the CBC as an effective way to review overall health, diagnose, or monitor a medical condition or treatment. But it continues to make groundbreaking discoveries in the 21st century. And I am not just talking about the latest teen love stories about vampires. For nearly 60 years, the American Society of Hematology, or ASH, has more than 17,000 doctors and research scientists from nearly 100 countries doing important work. According to the ASH website, dated January 2020, the mission is to further the understanding, diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of disorders affecting the blood. From leukemia to diabetes and so many more, ASH provides hope that treatments and even cures are possible. One blood disorder receiving notable attention recently is sickle cell anemia. It is an inherited or genetic disease in which a person's blood lacks enough healthy red blood cells to carry adequate oxygen throughout the body. This life-threatening disorder largely affects African Americans, and I happen to be a carrier for it. A normal red blood cell is flexible and round, much like a donut, and can easily move through blood vessels. However, in sickle cell anemia, these cells become sticky and rigid and change from the healthy donut-like shape to sickle or crescent shape. These cells get stuck in blood vessels and can slow or block oxygen to parts of the body. The result? Fatigue, swelling, and severe pain all over the body. However, two recent breakthroughs have provided hope for those afflicted. First, in November 2019, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved a new drug, Oxbryta, that Global Therapeutics CEO says blocks the process in the blood cells and may even be able to reverse the disease. Second, Dr. John LaPook reported on CBS News December 2019 that researchers have found a possible cure for sickle cell anemia, gene therapy. Researchers have found a genetic flaw in a person with sickle cell anemia's genetic coding. Patients have begun receiving infusions of their own altered DNA containing their own genetically modified stem cells. However, unlike the once-a-day pill Oxbryta, stem cell therapies are very costly, and a moral debate of using them remains. Yet there is no question that blood will continue to be used to advance research in many areas of medicine. So today, we have traveled down a stream of blood history, blood basics, and examined the future of what we have yet to learn from this vital fluid. So the next time you get that tiny drop of blood from a paperclip or a crowd-clearing bloody nose, remember, blood happens, and that's good. It means we're alive.
Don't take a picture, man.
Excuse me.
Don't take a picture. I don't like it.
Well, I was only taking a picture of the memorial. What's the big deal?
I was only like, that's all. Why are you taking a picture then anyway? You gonna carry it around in your wallet or something, man?
Well, it's the Vietnam Memorial. A historic monument.
It's not a historic monument. It's a damn public pacifier. People come from all over just to feel like shit for a few minutes, and then they go out to lunch and have a nice crab salad sandwich. It's bull.
Well, I don't think it's bull. Excuse me.
Are you afraid of me, man? You don't have to be afraid of me. I'm just enjoying a nice quiet day here, like you.
We often do whatever we can to recognize the sacrifice of our veterans.
From holidays to speeches to war memorials, we want to make sure the veterans feel that their service is valued.
But for many veterans, even a memorial cannot fully express the experience of war that continues to impact them. As author and Vietnam vet Winston Groom wrote,
To describe war to someone who has not been in it is like trying to describe the color blue to a blind person.
Peace in Our Time by Larry Cadman.
What's your name, man?
Pete.
Pete. You're kidding. Your name is Pete? Oh, man, what a coincidence. You see... My name's Eric.
I'm sorry, Eric. I don't get it. What's the coincidence?
My best friend's name is Pete. I was just talking with him over here.
Where?
Right here, man. On the wall. Section E36. Peter Thomas Kazmarek. He's, dead. Man.
Gee. You were there, weren't you?
Do us, Pete. You see that panel over there? Well, on is the name of the first man who died in Nam. And there is the name of the last man who died. And in between are the names of the 58,130 other guys who died so we can end up nowhere.
Well, I was deferred. I was a student.
Yeah, what do you study?
Philosophy.
Philosophy, you shouldn't be, right? While you were studying philosophy, you could have been studying the philosophy of the M16. Sir, the M16 recoilless assault rifle, sir! What kind of business does a philosopher have in Washington anyway?
Oh. Well, I'm not a philosopher. I'm a lobbyist.
Yeah, I like you better as a philosopher.
Well, a man has to do what he can. Isn't that right, Eric? What's your occupation, if I may ask?
Temporarily unemployed, Pete. It's just, taken me a little while to, get my shit together. That's all. Can I, trust you, Pete?
Yeah. What's that?
C4. Plastic.
You mean plastic explosive?
Shh, not so loud.
Are you out of your mind?
Oh, relax. It's as harmless as Play-Doh until you set it off.
Look, Eric, it was nice meeting you, but I really should be getting going.
You're gonna get a comp, aren't you, man? Well, when you come back, I won't be here, and you'll have missed your chance.
Missed my chance for what?
To be a hero. To stop the man who blew up the Vietnam Memorial.
You're not serious.
This says I am.
To the President of the United States and the publisher of the Washington Post. I am a Vietnam vet. I have nothing but respect in my heart for the lives of the men who served, and when I came back, I shared their humiliation. It wasn't just that our country looked down on us, they didn't even see us. The Vietnam Memorial is a sad joke. It is an insult to the lives of the men who served, and to destroy it, as I have done, is an act of love and respect. I am the holder of a silver star, in which I enclose with this letter, "Where I'm going, I won't be needing it." Signed, a vet. Well, this has got to be the stupidest letter I've ever heard in my life. And it sounds like it was written by a psycho.
Well, I'm not a psycho.
Well, I know that, Eric. But the people who read that aren't. Besides, what's all this nonsense signing it a vet? I mean, really, if you're gonna do something that big, you might as well just sign your name
Are
to
you
it.
trying to psych me out of something, man?
No, Eric. Let me tell you what will happen if you succeed with this plan of yours. Everyone will despise you for it. And even with that note, everyone's gonna miss your silly point. What do you...
It's not a silly point!
Eric, calm down. Just give me the bag!
You again? You don't know? What did you ever do, huh? He wouldn't listen, man, you know. I told him, I said, "Pete, wait till the reinforcements come in," but he just got up and said, "Come on." And so I reached out my hand like this, and I grabbed his leg, and I guess I slowed him down just a little bit or something, cause that's when Charlie opened up from the bush and caught Pete in the chest. No, I knew that I killed Pete, and that if Pete was dead, then I didn't want to be alive, and so I picked up my weapon and I started running, firing, hoping that one of the rounds would take me! Take me! But they just kept... No! No!
Eric, this isn't just any other war memorial you're looking at. What I mean is people don't come here to feel proud about what we've done. And I think it serves as a reminder that sometimes men, they die for nothing, and that we are capable of blindness and ignorance and stupidity and ingratitude. Harry, it's an anti-war monument. Come on. You know, I haven't known many vets. And it seems like our lives have gone in completely different directions. Starting with the day that some got on the bus, like you. And I didn't. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm sorry.
You know something, Pete? Oh, we've been waiting a long time to hear one of you guys say that.
Okay, next we are going to listen to extemporaneous speaking. And extemporaneous speaking is a draw category where you draw 3 questions and you pick the one that you have the most information on, and you have a half an hour to prepare it. Okay, sure.
The coronavirus has already had a devastating impact in just a few months, with over 83,000 people being affected in 56 countries, and 2,800 have died from it, according to the New York Times from today. Just recently, the World Health Organization raised the global risk from high to very high, and as the fears continue to rise, with the deaths, many people are getting to be more and more aware of this coronavirus. With South Korea, Italy, and Iran's infections having doubled in just the past 2 days, up to nearly 3,500 now. As the infections continue to surge, so does the fear of the overall effect that we will be seeing from the coronavirus in the next 2 years, which brings us to today's question. What effects will the coronavirus have on global markets? And we will see this in 3 main areas. First, through an increase in the health field. Second, through an increase in isolationist ideals. And third, through a possible and somewhat likely recession. Back when the Spanish flu devastated the world almost over 100 years ago, it had a big impact on how we viewed health afterwards, with the Soviet government stating their views of the future physicians, saying that they will have the ability to study the occupational and social conditions which give rise to illness, and not only cure the illness, but suggest ways to prevent it. This concept was quickly taken over by the rest of the world, and our view of health organizations as we saw them changed dramatically and impacted the way that we run many health organizations today. This revamped many of the health ministries in the 20s, according to the Smithsonian Magazine, and created newer and more recent health technologies that we see up to today. And with the recent rise in the coronavirus, it is very likely that we will see the same effect happen. As the coronavirus and the Spanish flu are not nearly the same thing, but we can relate them in the same way that people will become more and more aware of the ways that we need to improve our health system, and it is likely that the need and search for a vaccine to try to prevent the constant deaths that we have been seeing and the increasing deaths and infections, that the health field will continue to expand to try to combat this horrible thing that is happening throughout the world and continuing to reach further and further and affect more and more people. The second effect that the coronavirus will have on global markets is an increase in isolationist ideals, as many countries realize that they cannot rely so much on exports and imports from other countries. As we have been seeing with one of the main issues being that China makes a lot of medicine ingredients, and with their production rates going so far down because of their medical emergency, we are not being able to get the same amount of drug ingredients that many people need to survive and carry on with their lives. The FDA says that shortages have begun and that we will begin to see the effects of this more and more in as time goes on. And this will lead many countries to try to continue to make more and more products within their own territories and other places throughout the world, not relying so much on China for all of their needs, especially in the medical field. Many countries will try to do this to try to prevent these horrible effects from happening again. So when another issue like this arises in the future, we will not see the same devastating effects that we have been seeing throughout many materials that are very needed for life and the continuation of our day-to-day lives. And the last way that we will see the effect of the coronavirus on global markets is through a possible and somewhat likely recession. As before stated, many things that we need are from China, with it carrying 70% in the global GDP. And many companies such as Nike and Apple are feeling these effects dramatically, as much of their market and production is in China, which is currently, much of it is shut down because of the health emergency. This will cost us a lot of money, and the US stocks have already lost $3.6 trillion just in a few months. The effects of the coronavirus will continue to have a lasting impact on our global economy, and it is very likely that we will see a recession because of this, because we cannot get the same materials that we have needed in the past, and the stock market is struggling with the lack of market that we have lost throughout China, and the lack of production that we have lost through the recent coronavirus outbreak, according to the Washington Post from today. So to return to today's question, what effect will the coronavirus have on global markets? We will see this in three main areas: through an increase in the health field, an increase in isolationist ideals, and a possible and somewhat likely recession in the near future.
Okay, and finally we will be hearing from Gavin and Humorous.
Joe! Yeah? Do you see the cash register? That's where we're going. No more shopping. Do you have the gun? Is it in your jacket? Did you lose it? Do I have to tie it to your jacket sleeve like how I used to with mittens and yarn? God, you used to lose everything. You once lost a toy car that was right next to you the whole time. Yeah, the gun's, it's in my jacket. Okay, now, is there anything you have to do before we get started? Are you asking me if I have to use the bathroom? Don't be crude. Do you? No! Okie dokie then. Let's get busy. Parents, they make us do many things. Chores. Fetch things for them that they can obviously get on their own. And go to the grocery store. Now Joe's parents here, or mother I should say, she's gonna make him do something a little different in I'll Take It Back by Paul Rudnick. Yes, young man. Hi? Yes. Speak up, Joe! I have to ask you something, and I have a gun. Pardon? He has a gun, Francis. Is that an actual gun? Yeah, and don't make me use it. Joe, don't ever do that again. God, that was so bad. Francis, he thinks this like a dragonette. Young man, am I to understand you're robbing me? He's not robbing you, Francis. He's just asking. asking for $10,000. No, I'm demanding for $10,000. Mom and Francis, I need it now. So show me where it is in the cash register or safe or wherever you keep it. Excuse me, say Robin L.L. Bean. Yeah, Toots, what's the matter? So he is. He's Robin Bean. Yeah, so don't mind me for asking, but what is this you got here? A wooden stuffed duck? No, it's a mallet phone. You take off the head, it becomes a receiver. Oh. So that's so. Francis, we want 2 of these mallet phones and $10,000. You want $10,000 and 2 mallet phones? Oh. And, so, over here. Yes. Me buy this pair of underwear. My son gets wet at night. Mom, don't tell him about that. Joe, give me the gun. Francis, how long have you been working here? 19 years coming this November. And is there some sort of pension plan in place? Yes, 10% off all items. Francis, I gotta tell you something. I live in Jersey. Why, I'll never know. I have 2 terrific kids, a wonderful husband, who, by the way, has survived from 2 heart attacks. Well, we just don't have the money, too. And, well, that's my kids, but you just don't want to know what they do for a living. Trust me, you just don't. Francis, it's the living room. The living room's a mess. Whenever I have guests over, I'm just embarrassed. And whenever I have family over, when they look, you can just tell they want to look away. You need $10,000 for a living room. Yeah? So what? A living room. Well, why didn't you just say so? Is that all you need? Personally, I love window treatments, mini blinds. Just, if you have painters, watch them like a hawk. I left them for 5 minutes, and let's just say I wanted green, but now I'm living in bone. Here you go, Joe. What do you say, Joe? Thank you, Francis. I was gonna say it, Ma.
Good evening and welcome to Speech Spotlight 2020. Tonight we welcome parents, friends, relatives, teachers, school administrators, and community members to this special showcase event of the Tiger Speech Team. My name is Eli Hausman and I am a senior on the team in the categories of humor and drama, and a co-EMC for tonight's event.
My name is Sophie Anderson and I'm also a senior on the team in duo and in prose. Tonight's show promises to be an evening of enlightening and entertaining speeches. 6 speeches will be showcased this evening.
My name is John Spentek and I'm also senior on our team in the categories of duo and poetry. We don't have time to share all 60 speakers on our team on the stage, or all 13 categories, but this will give you a sample of some of the tremendous talent that is a part of this year's team.
To help make this a great event, please turn off all of your cell phones. Thank you. Now let's start Speech Spotlight Show 2. We will begin on the riveting side with senior Savannah Bodenheimer in prose.
Savannah's competitive success with this speech has qualified her for the Nighthawk National Tournament held in Houston this May. Savannah says she appreciates her time on the Tiger speech team because speech gives her experiences that turn into stories like the infamous Harvard info stand fiasco. Ladies and gentlemen, Savannah Bodenheimer.
All my life, perfect strangers have come up and confessed to me. They say I remind them of their sisters, their daughters, their first sweethearts. And it's perfectly true that most of these people have been men. But they always confused me with their honesty. So I listened to every single one of them. I never knew what was expected of me. Maybe nothing was. But really, something is always expected. And by the very nature of them giving me something so freely, they must have wanted something in return. Listening. Often considered a gift, but is it really? Marla quickly finds her gift becoming a curse, as she suffers from what 1 in every 12 American women will experience: stalking. Marla recalls from her jail cell that listening, while it is a gift, is never an excuse to never speak up and never tell her own story. In Me and My Enemy by Karen Hewler. About a month into my new job, I noticed that my boss was gloomy. It is my belief that people are unhappy because they've been treated unkindly. That's all I intended, to be kind. Because he was unhappy, I did small things for him. Brought him coffee, picked up his mail, nothing big. And he noticed. One night as I was leaving work, Eddie caught up with me at the elevator. So I blinked and tried to look comforting, yet not inviting. He had just appeared there, all of a sudden, hanging his head.
You wouldn't have time for a drink.
A quick drink? His story is a familiar one, and he repeats it at the bar.
My wife? She can burn in hell.
Why not? It'll be her turn. After all, she's made my life hell. I felt sympathy for him, but I'm no fool. I know whoever tells a story has a way of selecting details. We had other drinks, other nights when he looked glum. I grew to dread it. He had quickly developed a kind of shorthand for his demands. A flick of the wrist with the pinky extended meant a drink, rubbing his belly meant a meal, and tapping his heart meant hours of talk. I would try to leave work when he wasn't looking, but he watched me. And as soon as I got home, the phone would ring.
I need to talk to you.
No. What's so important that you can't have dinner? You're killing me here. What's it gonna cost you? 1 hour, 2 hours? I just need some time alone. These conversations, these phone calls became routine. From once a week to 5 times a week. From once a night to 10, 20 times. I dreaded those calls. I wouldn't go home right away. I would go for long walks. I would go to the movies. While waiting in line for the movies, I saw Eddie. coming towards me. So I cut and run. I could hear my phone ringing in my apartment while I was still out in the hall. It stopped by the time I made it in. Stayed silent for 15 minutes. Then it rang again, at least a dozen times. And it stopped. Then it rang again. This went on until I took the phone off the hook. The next day at work, when Eddie was out of the room, I told Doris that I wasn't feeling well and I was going to go home. I didn't have a plan. That was the problem. I needed to think of a plan. I didn't want to hurt Eddie. I just wanted him to leave me alone. But what if he wasn't capable of that? I opened my front door and turned to close it just as Eddie's fat fingers wrapped themselves around the edge. I was so lost in thought that I had taken my usual route home.
I need to talk to you.
No, I don't want to talk to you right now.
Just talking. What's the problem?
He started following me up the stairs, step by step, grinning in this foolishly triumphant way. I want you to go. Now! I pushed him. It was an indecisive push, but it was enough. Those fat hands of his blew up, looking for support, and found nothing. He tipped over backwards, like a jar off the shelf. I ran down to check on him. His eyes were closed, and his chest was still. I walked to the police station, waited for the desk sergeant to notice me, then said, I killed someone. I murdered someone. He was my boss. He was a very unhappy man. He followed me constantly. The desk sergeant lost his bored expression, but only for a moment, then waved me over to his desk.
A stalker? You must have been frightened. It's okay, take your time. No one's gonna hurt you. Now, how did he die? He is dead, right?
I pushed him down the stairs.
He might have stepped back on his own, you know. Like, he forgot where he was. You've never been in trouble before, have you? That's what I thought. You see, I knew a girl like you once. She was...
His voice was drifting over me. I told him stop. Please stop and listen to me. Listen to me, I killed him! He already had that gaze in his eyes that people caught when they confessed to me. In fact, even now, they all keep talking. As if I couldn't have a story of my own, a story just as sad as theirs. And it doesn't matter that I need forgiveness too. And it doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter how I feel.
Thank you, Savannah. Our next speaker is Senior Lydia Hurst in original oratory. Lydia placed first with this speech at the Prior League tournament, winning the coveted Vogue Trophy.
Lydia enjoys original oratory because she can choose and construct an argument around a topic she feels passionate about. Though it is a difficult category, at the end of the day, if her speech resonates with even one person, then it will have been worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, Lydia Hurst.
This past Christmas, I went down to Iowa with my parents to spend some quality family time with relatives. It was, of course, as awkward as usual. After our initial hellos, then came the inevitable silence, as each distantly related family member tried to make conversation. And, without a doubt, I would then get some variation of the question, "So, do you have any idea of what you're going to do?" Do you mean after this? I'm probably gonna go home and try to sleep off the awkwardness." No. What are you going to do next year in college? You know, for a career. We've all been there. My dad laughed and told me that I'm going to get that question all my life. And therein lies my problem. We seem to value what we do, that is, what we do for work, over all else. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average productivity per American worker has increased approximately 400% since 1950. We in the U.S. are working more than we have in decades, and our work-life balance is steadily diminishing. Author and journalist Derek Thompson calls this troubling phenomenon workism. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't work. Oh, come on, guys, don't look at me like that. But this overemphasis on work, or workism, can have physical, mental, and societal consequences. So, let's get right to business by first addressing the career pressures that begin at an egregiously young age. Then delving into just how harmful overworking can be, both physically and mentally, before, finally, working towards some solutions. It all starts as young as kindergarten. I remember being asked, along with the other children, what I wanted to be when I grew up. In kindergarten. I had no idea whether I wanted fruit snacks or animal crackers that day, let alone what I wanted for a career. Already, your future career is being heavily emphasized. And this emphasis carries on into middle school and particularly into high school. Popular school programs in Minnesota, such as Ramp Up to Readiness, emphasize to young students how crucial it is to save money by choosing a career and knowing exactly what you want. We've even been told to take certain classes within our career of choice as ninth graders. Imagine expecting a 14-year-old to know what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And the research reiterates that these teens have difficulty choosing a particular career path or major. According to the U.S. Department of Education, a third of college students in a 4-year program change their major at least once. And who can blame them? They're 18 years old, still figuring out how to do the laundry, let alone choose a career. Yet, we frown upon these students. Don't they know what they're going to do? And who they're going to be? Now, I'm not saying high school shouldn't encourage students to begin thinking about career options. Just make sure students are also aware that their future career is not the end-all be-all, that there is much more to life. So what happens when these young adults who've been brought up to be obsessed with their careers enter the workforce? Well, they work A lot. According to the International Labor Organization, Americans work 137 more hours per year than Japanese workers, 260 more hours per year than British workers, and 499 more hours per year than French workers. We work a lot, and we don't even use all of our vacation days to offset it. The U.S. Travel Association found that 768 million vacation days were left unused in 2018. But, okay, we work a lot. Is that such a bad thing? A study published in The Lancet, Diabetes and Endocrinology Journal, found that working 55 or more hours per week at a low-income job was associated with a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Another study found that the odds of going through a major depressive episode were more than double for those who worked overtime. We as humans are not meant to have our work consume our lives. Sure, working is a part of life, but we're meant to supplement that with rich social lives, hobbies, and forced family interactions. I've only scratched the surface of the harm that overworking causes. And this research clearly demonstrates that it is irrefutably detrimental to both our physical and our mental health. And when all you do is work, what is left of your identity? Before choosing our career paths, we can all recall being told to pursue our passions. But is this really feasible? It is certainly true that some people get lucky and obtain jobs that provide them with spiritual meaning in their lives. But for most of us, that just isn't the case. And sometimes people even prefer when this is not the case. My best friend Francesca has a passion for music. She's incredibly talented, and her whole life she's been adamant that she will pursue music as a career. But in the past couple months, she's taken a complete 180 and decided that she's going to pursue speech pathology instead. When I asked her why, she told me that music is something that brings her great joy, and by making it her career, she would risk associating it with stress. Francesca felt the pressure to pursue her passion all her life, but ultimately, she decided that she'd rather have a job that just pays the bills. And you know what? That's okay. What I learned from Francesca's story is that many times when people don't find passion in their work, it is viewed as a disappointment. According to a study conducted by the Conference Board, the majority of Americans feel dissatisfied in their work situation. Perhaps this emphasis on finding the perfect job, one that fulfills you and gives you meaning in life, is leading people to feel depressed and dissatisfied when this is not the case. So, how do we go about taking some time off from the troubling issue of workism? Well, we can approach this issue in two main ways: how we work and how we view work. One potential remedy of workism is the 4-day work week, which is becoming increasingly popular. Companies around the world have begun implementing the 4-day work week, in which employees work longer hours for 4 days a week, but get an extra day off to spend time with family or pursue their passions. One company that successfully implemented this is Microsoft Japan. And according to them, the 4-day work week increased their productivity by 40%. Another company, a trust management from New Zealand, found that the 4-day work week increased employees' work-life balance by 45%. This is just one example of a change to our typical work schedule that would greatly benefit workers. The other approach we can take to tackle workism is by changing how we view work. It's true. Most of us will not find jobs that give us deep spiritual meaning in our lives. Sure, some people do get lucky, but someone still has to enter the data. someone still has to load the trucks. And that is perfectly okay. What we should do instead of trying to find our life's meaning in our job is to find outlets outside of our work that give us a feeling of purpose. This could be a myriad of things. Religion, family, friends, volunteering, a hobby. It all depends on what makes you happy and gives you a feeling of purpose. Do what you love, just not necessarily as a career. Although work is, of course, an important part of our lives, we put far too much emphasis on it, which has created a culture of workism. Let's break this cycle and instead focus on creating a balance between our work life and our social and spiritual life, so we can not only be productive, but happy and healthy as well.
Thank you, Lydia. Our next speaker will be Senior Captain Elise Messick in prose. Elise has brought home an award with this speech at every tournament she's competed at this season.
Elise says what she'll miss most about speech is making new friends with people across the speech community and watching our team's hard work pay off and watch everyone succeed and have fun. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Elise Messick.
So I left my uniform on the bathroom floor. See, I was what you call a bad worker. 2 hours into my first shift, after spilling a tray of veal parmigiana all over a customer's tweed suit, I was relieved of my duties. When I got back to the counter, I noticed a man lurking around, watching me. He introduced himself as an artist and said he wanted to take me out to dinner. And now I had no job, so the prospect of a dinner weakened me, and I accepted. My name's Patty. My name's Bob. Bob, huh? Would you mind if I called you Robert? That first night, I was surprised how comfortable I felt with Robert. I did most of the talking, and he held my hand. It was the summer that I met Robert Maplethorpe. Although I didn't know it now, I would one day hold his ashes in my hands. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Patti Smith gained her fame and recognition in the early 1960s and 70s through her revolutionary combination of art, poetry, and music. During this time, she notably merged with artist and photographer Robert Mapplethorpe to not only produce renowned paintings, drawings, photography, and music, but to form a loving relationship unlike none other. Through Smith's personal reflections on the relationship, we can come to appreciate the transcendent power of love. Just Kids by Patti Smith. Robert and I hadn't had much money, but we were happy together. We would visit art museums, but we only had enough money for one ticket. So one of us would go in, look at the exhibits, and then report back to the other. Someday we'll go in there together. And the art in there will be ours, Robert would say. We vowed to make art with or without the rest of the world. Meanwhile, we lived on stale bread and didn't eat more beef stew. We were always hungry. But when we drew, painted, we could get lost for hours. I lived by his side. I worked by his example until exhausted he would say, "Nobody sees like we do, Patty." And then we would fall into each other's arms, exchanging breathless little kisses. Robert was so good to me. But after a while, I could tell that something was different. Something was on his mind, and it wasn't the money. He paced back and forth about not finishing his artwork. In early September, Robert said that he wanted to talk. He said that he was conflicted sexually. I just stood there not understanding at all what he meant. Wordlessly, he handed me an envelope and walked away. Away to San Francisco. You know, I had told him, even begged him so many times to tell me what was going on, what he was thinking, but he had no words for me. All he said was, "My life is a lie. A lie. Everything was a lie." I decided I was going to paint. Paint and think. Paint and think. Paint and think and paint and think. With homosexuality, I had always prided myself on being non-judgmental. I'd known nothing of the reality of it until now. But now, I felt alone and conflicted. It was also hard to withhold judgment because I just needed someone to talk to. I just needed someone to talk to. You have to understand, I never saw Robert through the lens of his sexuality. He was the artist of my life. From San Francisco, he had written that he had discovered himself and that he would always love me. We wrote and shared photos. You know, when I look at the photos now, I never see him. I never see me. I see us. Robert was inaccessible to me. And I loved him anyway. After a while, I began to worry that Robert wasn't doing too well in San Francisco. He was frail and skinny. He wrote about how every time he got up, he felt dizzy. It wasn't like him to complain much. In late December, Robert was diagnosed with AIDS. He was hospitalized with AIDS-related pneumonia. I called the hospital, and he said he was sure he was going to beat this thing. "I'll see you soon," I promised. I arrived at the hospital 2 days later. I held his hands. They shook. His face was so pale. The silence was interrupted by his mounting cough. He gave me this look of love and a deep apology. He said, "Nobody sees as we do, Patty." When he said things like that, it was like we were the only two people in the world. Like this magic space of time. In the end, we were better off together. If someone would have told me years ago from now that I'd be standing here today with his ashes in my hand, I would have been shocked. My love for him couldn't save him.
Thank you, Elise. Our next speaker is Senior Captain Stephen Zimmer in Informative. Stephen is very close, one bid away from qualifying this speech for Night Talk Nationals.
Stephen enjoys being a part of the speech team because it gives him a chance to challenge himself as a speaker and a person. Speech has given him the chance to meet new people and go to places like Omaha and Harvard. He loves to talk to people he meets and make sure that everyone has fun on the team. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Zimmer.
Not long ago, I was eating dinner at a local restaurant, and to my dismay, I discovered a fly in my mashed potatoes. Oh, yum. After nearly gagging, I sent my plate back to the kitchen and vowed to never eat at that restaurant again. But what I didn't realize is that all of us, at one point or another, have unintentionally eaten an insect or two. Yes, that's right. According to the Food and Drug Administration, bits of insect fragments end up in places like peanut butter, frozen bags of broccoli, and other packaged foods, possibly as much as 2 pounds a year. We in the West have long resisted entomophagy, the practice of eating bugs, because we view it as gross and disgusting. Yet for more than a quarter of the world's population, eating bugs is a normal part of their diet. So today, let's hop on the buggy bandwagon and explore the present-day tradition of eating these creepy crawlers, their nutritional value, and their practical aspects. Since the days the Native Americans roamed the land, the trend of eating bugs has decreased. However, in recent years, that trend has gotten popular again. According to a 2018 Forbes article written by Chelsea Davis, it states that some people eat insects out of choice, others by necessity. And depending on where you are in the world, you might be able to visit a local supermarket or two. Most markets in sub-Saharan Africa sell roasted termites, which have a satisfying kick similar to that of bacon. In Southeast Asia, we'll be able to find some freshly cooked mealworms, sauteed in soy and served warm. In these two continents, it is often considered a necessity eating bugs due to the lack of other food resources. And if we go all the way over to Mexico, we'll be able to find some roasted larvae along with tangy grasshoppers and buttery ant eggs. Hop on over to Australia and we'll be able to indulge in some honey-flavored ants, which will satisfy our taste buds. And if we go all the way over to Great Britain, we'll be able to visit the local supermarket Sainsbury, which stocks edible insects such as salted crickets and buffalo worms in over 250 of their stores across the country. The buffalo worms are even marked as a garnish for meals such as salads, noodles, and tacos. But if you don't feel like traveling out of the country for one of these delicious meals, you're in luck, because according to CNN Health, the United States edible insect market reached $55 million in 2017, and that total is expected to exceed $80 million by 2024. Black ant crudo, short rib with the side of crickets, sound familiar? Well, according to that same Forbes article in magazine, Brooklyn Bugs, based out of Brooklyn, New York, entered the edible bug scene 2 years ago, selling normalized American foods with a hint of creepy crawlies. Now, as we can see, this has become a global expansion. Not only as a country, but as a world. We are more willing to try something different that can better benefit our environment. Still not ready to hop on the buggy bandwagon? Well, entomophagy has already made its way into Hollywood. Celebrities such as Shailene Woodley, Zac Efron, and Salma Hayek admit to eating bugs as a normal part of their diet, primarily crickets. 2 years ago, Justin Timberlake was spotted selling ants covered in rose oil at his album release. Jessica Simpson even went as far as traveling to Thailand in hopes of boosting her metabolism. The MTV show Fear Factor has traveled all around the world, from places such as China, England, and Africa for its contestants to eat bugs. What this show has done is it has not only exposed its contestants, but also its audience to a world where eating bugs is completely normal. In addition to enjoying some fried crickets, creamy cockroaches, and caramelized caterpillar, whether it be at our homes or in a restaurant, we can all appreciate the nutritional value of entomophagy. York University professor Krista Scott Dixon visited Next Millennium Farm 2 years ago to learn some more about their insect nutrition. She experimented with various buggy meals while visiting them in their lab. And as she chewed down on her bag of mealworms, she was informed that a bag of mealworms gives people fiber, protein, fatty acids, and minerals. In fact, she even states it tastes kind of like a Rice Krispie bar. And if you ask me, they kind of look alike. Who knew mealworms could snap, crackle, and pop? Hopefully your skin doesn't crawl the next time you see a Rice Krispie bar. She even states that the average insect is about 50 to 75% protein. An example being that a meal of crickets is 65% protein, compared to a meal of beef, which is 50% on average. Another aspect of entomophagy's nutritional value is its antioxidant capacity. According to a 2019 study conducted by Italy's University of Toronto, shows that ants, crickets, caterpillars, and grasshoppers have an antioxidant potential 5 times greater than that of freshly squeezed orange juice, which is known to be a good resource for you. Blend all of those bugs together, and you just made yourself some homemade bug juice. According to a British website called The Telegraph, states that common antioxidants, such as vitamins C and E, remove potentially damaging oxidizing agents within a living organism. In fact, these agents have been known to raise the risk of cancer. This just goes to show that incorporating an insect diet could lead to a healthier lifestyle. Now, there's more to just eating bugs than celebrity endorsement and nutritional value. There are also practical aspects of entomophagy. Charlotte Payne, a PhD in zoology from Cambridge University, states that eating insects could help us save us from ourselves, and experts believe you need to preserve half of the world's ecosystems for a sustainable future. An example being that livestock is responsible for 14.5% of greenhouse emissions, whereas mealworms and crickets produce 100 times less greenhouse emissions. Just yet, these insect farmers aren't big enough to compete with their meaty conglomerates. Payne states that crickets, the most commonly typed of farmed insect, have a smaller environmental footprint than that of beef. Not to mention, they need less food to feed and less land to harvest. However, it might be a while before we are ready to go to a local dinner party where they serve freshly raised crickets that cause our guests to chirp. In addition to insects being a part of a practical movement, they have also contributed to some of the world's most marginalized areas. Already in the Democratic Republic of Congo and in Madagascar, social innovations are taking place to help empower grassroots insect farmers. Likewise, a group in Ghana called Aspire is selling crickets, and they are using their profits to challenge inequality. According to the Conversation newsletter published in January of 2017, eating insects accounts for 60% of dietary protein in rural African diets. For people living in Ghana, this can be an important means of survival. Back to 2018, when Krista Scott Dixon visited Next Millennium Farm. Aside from nutritional value, she also learned a bit about their practical aspects. She states that insects are good at converting food into edible tissue, about 2 times more efficient than pigs and chicken, more than 5 times efficient than livestock. Not to mention, they eat a wider variety of food and vegetables than beef, and they're able to turn unavailable food sources, such as mulberry leaves and wood, into something that is edible for people. This just goes to show that insect farming could be a key factor into having a sustainable future. Now that we are aware of the rich tradition of entomophagy, its nutritional value, and its practical aspects, we can challenge our own prejudice and taboos around eating bugs. Instead of simply just watching contestants on Fear Factor eat bugs, how about we try some for ourselves? These tasty treats are only a click away, as I discovered these dark chocolate-covered crickets on Amazon. In fact, they're my favorite snack to have during speech competition. Tasty.
Thanks, Stephen. Our next speaker is Senior Captain Isaiah Schrader in drama. Isaiah has been recognized as one of the best serious interpreters in the state of Minnesota. He is a 2-time state qualifier in drama, earning a prestigious state medal as a sophomore in 2018.
Isaiah's advice to young species is, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to show others your work. And most importantly, have fun. Ladies and gentlemen, Isaiah Schrader.
Well, now I was just reading a magazine article. It occurs me the most famous playwright in the world. Well, now, of course, I wouldn't have objected if it had called me the best playwright. Well, now, as you can see, I don't believe in false modesty. I have emerged after a deep depression, and I'm living again. Glad to be alive. Now, I'm sure some of you know about depression. I would say prolonged depression, well, it's almost as difficult as prolonged happiness. Oh, well, no, I don't drink anymore. Well, only white wine, but that doesn't count. And the occasional vodka martini, and rum in my tea, and then gin in my orange juice. You know, they tell me to be sober. But I think I drink to escape the devils that poke at me from under my skin. You know, I curse those devils, but I could never banish them. For those devils, well, they are me.
He was one of the greatest 20th century Southern American playwrights. From A Streetcar Named Desire to The Glass Menagerie, Tennessee Williams' timeless plays introduced us to tragic storylines and flawed characters, whose psychological struggles revealed just how fragile life really is. Meanwhile, Williams' private life was shown to have been just as heartbreaking as his plays. It is through the life of the great Tennessee Williams that we are reminded tragedy is not just reserved for the stage. Charlotte Chandler and Ray Strickland's Confessions of a Nightingale. Well, now, where should we start? Well, now, I'm usually bombarded immediately with questions about sex, which I suppose we should get the devil out of the way first. Am I a homosexual? Well, now, I don't know how that rumor got started. That, as Blanche says in Streetcar, straight. What is straight? Besides, what is perfect love anyway? I believe it's to have someone of which you can tell the worst thought you've ever had and one thing of which you are most ashamed, and they wouldn't think you any the less for. You know, that's the kind of relationship that that's the kind of relationship I had with Frank. Everything a writer of fiction creates has to come from himself. You know, but I've always been leery of discussing my professional life. I would much rather disclose to you the most intimate details of my sex life because my writing is more personal. In my writing, I've always had a fascination with sexuality and a fascination with death, but I wouldn't say they're my predominant themes, no. No lonelinesses. Loneliness. Well, that's my greatest affliction. You know what real loneliness is? It's not having anyone to laugh with. Because you can cry alone, yes, but you cannot laugh alone. Well, you can, but they come and lock you up.
I lost Frank. Frank, well, he was a dear long-time friend. I met him around the time of streetcar, and we lived together for 14 years. But Frank, well, he was stricken with lung cancer and deteriorated rather quickly. You know, I've been asked many times in the interviews to name the greatest person I've ever known. And I suppose because of my own fame, they expect me to name writers and artists and presidents. But the greatest person I've ever known was Frank Merlot. Not just because of the way he lived, no, but especially because of the way he died. So bravely. He was so sick. On and off in the middle of the night, I would hear those horrible fits of coughing. He was on oxygen. Couldn't breathe. Gasping for air. The last time I saw Frank was at his funeral. He was there in his open coffin, looking strangely handsome. He wasn't sick anymore. But when I picked up his cold hand, though, well, it was one of the most shocking experiences of my life because, well, Frank, he always had warm hands. And I regret doing that. You know, it just didn't seem right that the last physical contact between us would be that one. And part of me was buried in that coffin. You know, I guess the old cliche is true. It's better to have loved and lost. Or even if you have to pay for it the rest of your life with that empty feeling inside. You know, now death seems to be a trip I most look forward to. It offers no excitement or experience by any means, but it does offer peace. Or at least I think so. Who knows? Perhaps even death won't live up to my expectations. Real loneliness is not having anyone to laugh with. The search for a warm body with a warm mind, if that can ever be achieved, well, that would be an unusual ending to a Tennessee Williams play now. A happy one. But then again, only fiction can offer happy endings.
Thank you, Isaiah. Before our final speaker tonight, we'd like to take a minute to recognize our team seniors and their final speech spotlight.
For some of our seniors, they have been a part of the Tiger Speech team since they were in middle school. For others, they have joined the team later. Either way, all of our seniors have made an impact on our team. When your name is called, please come up and get your spotlight flower. Sophie Anderson. Malia Blunker. Savannah Bodeheimer. Eli Hausman. Lydia Hurst. Elise Messick. Jack Peterson. Isaiah Schrader. John Smetek. Jack Wobble. And Steven Zimmer. These are this year's seniors, class of 2020. We'd also like to give a quick special thank you to Katie Jensen, Dan Smith, Mary Supernaut for the extra help with tonight's event. Our final speaker,
Our final speaker tonight is senior Jack Peterson. He will be performing his Humorous. Jack loves humorous because humor is our chance to be ourselves. With the stress of everyday life, escaping into a whimsical world with outlandish characters can be the best medicine for our crazy reality. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Peterson.
Introducing Mr. Phil Stevenson, a man from a small country called Bavaria. Phil was never the most ambitious nor articulate, but everyone liked Phil. In fact, when he was 20, he became mayor of his village, without even entering himself on the ballot. At 28, Phil met an experienced politician from the capital named Ernest Lipton. Ernest saw something in Phil that even he didn't see.
Phil, you're a great guy. Hi. Gee, thanks. I want you to run for chancellor.
No, I couldn't.
Yes, you can, Phil. I believe in you.
But Chancellor, I wouldn't know what to do.
Relax, Phil. Just stick with me and you'll be fine.
Well, all right. I'll try my best. And Phil did try his best. And on election day, Phil came out on top. So, Phil Stevenson, a man from a small village, found himself running the country. The stakes were high. The nation was watching. What makes a good leader? Trust, charisma, a moral center? Of course not! It's the facial hair. Think about it. Teddy Roosevelt, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Saddam Hussein, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, people! The mustache.
by Davis L&L.
No, you're a smart person. Good ideas. One problem though, I lack confidence. But I know just the trick. What you need is some confidence, some conviction. I want you to grow a mustache. Facial hair will make you seem older, more experienced. You'll be like Albert Einstein, Abraham Lincoln, like Santa Claus. Yeah, like old Santa Claus.
And so Phil decided to grow his mustache. 7 days and 7 nights passed as he waited for it to grow. Then, one day... And you get all tired, what? Who said that? Where are you? Why, I'm right under your nose. Do not be alarmed, Phil. I am here to help. Do you still not know who I am? No, why, I'm your mustache. But that's ridiculous. Mustaches can't talk. Everyone knows that. Who are you going to believe, Phil? Some silly people or your own mustache? Well, I guess when you put it like that, I understand you, Phil. You do?
Yes, you are a very special person.
Oh, wow. Thanks. You and I, Phil? We are going places. Oh, where? To the top, Phil? To the top. Phil's mustache trained him. It dictated him on the fine points of rhetoric and leadership. With the mustache as his aid, Phil learned to rule his country with an iron fist. Remember, Phil, the key to running a country is to remain strong. Do not let anyone tell you what to do. You are in charge. You are the ruler. Say it. Say, I am the ruler. I am the ruler. Who is the ruler? I am the ruler. Who is the ruler? I am the ruler. Now, didn't that feel nice? Yeah, you know it. It kind of did. I'm the ruler. Come in. Come in. Yeah, are you the owner of a car, license plate 67801? Why, yes, that would be my Chancellor Mobile. Yeah, well, your Chancellor Mobile ran me from behind 2 days ago and you drove away from the accident. Mustache. What do I do? Punch him in the face. I'm the roulette! Countrymen, I will now take your questions.
Mr. Chancellor, I'd like to point out what an amazing job you've done.
Thank you, I agree. Next question. Yeah, how to respond to claims that you took political advice from your, mustache? Next!
Mr. Chancellor, pollution from Bafarian plants has killed thousands of fish in the past month. Your response?
Well, Jim, there are plenty of fish in the sea. Stop laughing. Well, I think I've said enough. I hope you all learned a lot. I know I have. Just remember, work hard, love your country, and don't ask questions.
Yes, Phil, you are finally beginning to understand. Everyone, even those who you might think are harmless, everyone wants to be on top. That political side of you, Ernest, has been trying to steal your position since you entered office.
But Ernest is my best friend.
When will you realize, Phil? I am your only friend. Ernest may seem like a nice guy, but deep down he hates you. He's jealous of everything you had, so he betrayed you.
Wow, I've been so stupid.
Yes, you have.
Well, what can I do?
You must take action.
Hello,
see, the jacket, and the briefcase, oh, my lunch bags too. I wonder what I got. A PB&J, all right.
Is that chunky peanut butter?
Yeah, good old chunky peanut butter. A peanut and peanut butter. Best of both worlds, right?
No, stop eating that sandwich. This chunky peanut butter brouhaha ends here. You know what your problem is? You're too happy. Stop smiling. Also, your name. It needs to be changed. Ernest is an adjective, not a name. Your new name is John, but I don't talk back to me, John.
Phil, I think we need to talk.
I think we've done quite enough talking, thank you. You were right, Mustache. This man's no friend of mine, but what am I to do?
There is only one thing you can do.
No, you don't mean no one would know except for you and me. Yes, you're right. I like the way you handled that situation. Thank you, Mustache. Had to be done. I can't have people like that living in my country.
I think you know as well as I do that we are made for bigger things than running one country. It is time for us to branch out, to invade. Bavaria is much too small for a man with such a large mustache.
Yes. To war, then? To war. Phil's Bavarian army conquered far and wide. Nations bowed down before his mighty military. And the more places he conquered, the hungrier he became.
Yes, Phil, this is it. We have already expanded Bavarian borders further than anyone ever dreamed.
It is a great day for us. Yes, Mustache. Today marks a glorious victory for the both of us. I got you a present, Phil. You did it. Why, it's right outside the window. Nuclear weapons! Oh, you spoiled me, Mustache.
I was hoping we could use them together.
Well, I don't know. These bombs could cause a lot of damage.
I know, Phil. That is the point. We use them, wipe the slate clean, and start anew.
It would be much more efficient, but so many people would...
Who cares about people, Phil? You are the ruler.
Yes, you're right. So will you launch them with me? Today? Today? All of them.
Every last one.
Yeah, okay. Could a man really be twisted this far by his own dog obsessions? The answer, my friends, is right under your nose.
Thank you, Jack. Coming up for the Tiger speech team, we spend much of March preparing for our playoff tournaments. NSDA National Qualifiers, the Big South Conference Tournament, and the Section AA State Qualifying Tournament.
And that concludes tonight's showcase event, Speech Spotlight. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for coming tonight and supporting the Tiger speech team and the fine arts in our area. Good night and stay classy.